Hello, friends. Father Frank Pavone here, National Director of Priests for Life. Thank you for joining me. I want to give a special message tonight to all of you who have seen the movie Unplanned. I want to thank you for watching it, for bringing others to see it, for spreading the word about it. And I want you to gain the most you can from this movie. Because I can tell you, from having been intimately involved in the story behind it and in communication with the creators of it, that there are many levels of meaning in this movie and many lessons about the pro-life movement, about the pro-abortion movement, and about abortion. So in this time we have together today, I want to go into a few of those levels of meaning, a few of those deeper levels, and this really is a message meant for, of course, for anyone who wants to watch it, but it's intended especially for those who have already seen the movie, because if you listen to what I'm about to tell you, you'll know a lot about various scenes in this film. If you don't want to know before you see it, then it may be better just to watch this message after you see it at least once. But otherwise, if you don't mind, well, it'll benefit you as well. The movie, of course, is a true story, and it's a true story that I was involved in with Abby and helping her after she came out of the abortion industry and helping to launch the 40 Days for Life nationally. And I know the people who are involved, and this has been a journey for all of us over these last 10 years. It is a journey actually of hundreds of other people too, as Abby herself will say. It's not that this is just about her. This is about those who are leaving the abortion industry in great numbers, and it's also about the pro-life people. It is about the wounded moms and dads and grandparents of aborted babies. It's about a lot of things. Let's take a couple of initial lessons, things that if you watch carefully, you'll notice a couple of patterns. First of all, if you notice the scenes at the very beginning of the movie, at the very end, and also at the point where Abby decides to leave the abortion industry, you will see that we have in all three cases the scenes of a family. The movie begins with Abby's daughter Grace waking her up. She and her husband are there, and their daughter. And at the end of the movie, after all the drama has unfolded, and she has not only left the clinic, but it has shut down, you have mom, dad, and daughter walking away from that abortion mill. Now, in the opening scene, mom is getting ready for work. Dad is there with the daughter. And Grace doesn't want mommy to leave. And so she goes running after her out the front door of the house and says, "Mommy, don't go." Now, of course, those words of the child have a much deeper meaning than the child realizes. She just doesn't want mommy to go because she wants to play. She wants her home with her. But "Mommy, don't go" has a much deeper meaning, especially when spoken by a child. Don't go to that place. Don't go to that place of death. Don't go to that place that kills children. Don't go to that place that ruins families, that harms all of our society. Don't go. And in that command of a child not to go, you see a prophetic utterance that's what she will tell herself before this journey is over. Don't go there. It's what other people are trying to tell her. It's what ultimately she hears God himself tell her. Don't go. Then at the point where she has decided she will go out of the abortion industry, that is, and she comes home that day and she tells Doug that she's leaving. And do you know what dad and daughter are doing at that moment? When Abby walks into the house and is about to tell him that she's quitting Planned Parenthood, Dad is helping Grace finish the perimeter of a puzzle. Not the final piece of the puzzle, but the final piece of the border of the puzzle is being put in place. And in the midst of that activity, she comes in to announce that she's put some pieces of the puzzle in place and has established a clear boundary between her and Planned Parenthood, between her and abortion itself, not wanting ever to be involved again in an abortion procedure. At that moment, when she announces to her husband that she's leaving, you see a beautiful shot at one point of Grace looking at them and smiling. The smile of every child when someone who used to be employed killing children stops doing that. The smile, moreover, of a child who is impacted by a mom who has had abortions and is impacted by a mom who helps commit abortions. This is something that in many scenes of the movie we see revealed. It's what we call the shock waves of abortion. And as part of our Silent No More campaign at Priests for Life, a campaign about which I write in the foreword that I wrote to Abby's book, Unplanned, on which the movie is based, we see the dynamic of people talking about not only the pain of having abortions as a mother, not only the father is speaking up about the pain of losing their fatherhood when their child is aborted, but the dynamic we see more and more is that of the shock waves of abortion, the impact it has on the whole family. Now, the dynamic of the family is very prominent in this film, and I'll unpack that for you a little bit more. But the damage that is done to the children, for example, the surviving siblings of someone who has an abortion, is symbolized in a number of ways in this movie. One of those levels of meaning in the scenes that I just mentioned, but another one very, very telling. Abby comes home one day from the abortion mill. Her daughter greets her with delight and is ready to play, and looks down at her sneakers. And she says to her mom, "Are you okay?" And Abby wonders, well, why are you asking me that? And then she says, let me see the exact words here. "Your shoes are all bloody." Now, there's a symbolism there, brothers and sisters. The bloodiness of the shoes is taken inside the home. She doesn't even realize at first that her daughter saw the blood. Now, she has to make up an excuse. Oh, somebody had a bloody nose and you know, mommy helped them, but the blood got on my sneakers. Of course, that's not the truth. The truth, of course, is too hard to share with one's own child. Oh, yeah, that's the blood of, you know, somebody I helped to kill their child. I mean, who could ever say something like that? But what's symbolized in that particular scene is a truth that we see all the time, all across the country, all around the world. And that is that when someone is involved in abortion, whether having an abortion or committing abortions, it impacts their surviving children, it impacts their entire family, it impacts the dynamics between parents and their surviving children. It impacts the bonding between parents and children. It impacts the relationship between husband and wife. It impacts intimacy. It impacts confidence. It impacts the ability to plan and decide the future. it impacts all kinds of things, relationships, wounded in a way that we can only begin to imagine. And what also it symbolizes is the fact, and this is part of the study of abortion survivors that people like Canadian psychiatrist Dr. Philip Ney have analyzed for us and written about, that the children know, before the parents realize that they know, that something is wrong. Children who, as we have seen in case study after case study, will know that their mom had an abortion before mom ever tells them. Sometimes they overhear it, sometimes they deduce it. Sometimes they don't think about it consciously, but they recognize that something is wrong. Something is bothering mommy. Something is wrong in the family. Something is upsetting her, and I can't quite put my finger on it. Children are affected by the abortions that their mothers have, and they are affected by it more than the mother realizes. Mommy, are you okay? Your shoes are all bloody. Mommy, are you okay? Your relationship with us, your communication, your trust, your whole spirit, something's wrong. It's stained with blood. Relationships are impacted in a very deep way in the family. Now, we see an inkling of this also in the scene where one of the clients coming into the abortion facility has her mom on the other side of the fence begging and pleading with her not to get the abortion. And you'll notice in that scene that when mom gets out of the car and Abby is out there to lead her into the facility for the abortion, she's got another daughter. She's got a living daughter, Lily, and she's there with her. The living daughter is there at the abortion facility when her sibling is about to be killed. But that little girl's grandma is on the other side of that fence pleading and begging, crying. And the little girl notices that grandma is upset, so she goes over to her, and in a scene that echoes the same kind of dynamic as when Grace asks Abby, "Are you okay?" the little girl asks her grandmother, "Grandma, why are you crying? Why are you upset?" That question, in other words, reverberates in every family that has been impacted by abortion. Why are you upset? You know one of the reasons why young people are so pro-life? Because they see the upsetment all around them. In their families, among their friends, they see the upsetment that abortion brings. They see that, as we say in the Silent No More campaign, it doesn't solve any problems, it only creates new ones. Let me go into a couple of other scenes here that are very telling. When Abby is asked to go into the procedure room to help with the abortion that she ends up seeing and that shakes her so deeply and makes her realize that she's been wrong about all this. When she first goes to enter the room, she hesitates as she goes to put her hand on the door handle to open the door. There is a clear hesitation there that the camera focuses in on. Of course there is. That is a sign of the ambivalence that is expressed in a number of other ways. As she, at a certain point, is narrating at the very beginning of the movie, she says, you know, people ask me, could I have been so naive, so deluded, so wrong? The answer is yes. The lies that abortion facility workers and that abortionists themselves tell themselves in order to remain in that work are layer upon layer upon layer of lies. And yet, they can't completely shake off the truth. There's that hesitation. Why? Because it is unnatural to be involved in abortion. Our human nature repels against the act of killing. We certainly don't want to kill our own offspring. And this is why people end up getting tired of working in abortion facilities. You know, human nature doesn't get tired of saving lives, but it does get tired of taking them. But when you've put layer upon layer of lies and rationalizations upon your actions that are taking somebody else's life, you also become more and more afraid to face the truth that might convince you that you've been on the wrong path. And hence the hesitation. Do I really want to see what I've been doing? Because she realizes she's going to see something she hasn't seen before. Well, she doesn't realize how bad it is. But do I really want to see what an abortion is? And this, brothers and sisters, is a hesitation that many people in the public have. When we argue with people about abortion, one of the common questions that I always urge people to ask is, have you ever seen one? Ask a person who's telling you that they think abortion is okay, have you ever seen one? And very often the way people respond to that is, oh, I don't have to see it. Well, what is that supposed to mean? You don't have to see it? Actually, what that tells me is you do have to see it, and you realize that you do. Because you don't know what it is until you do. And this is a movie that shows us abortion. As I always say, America will not reject abortion until America sees abortion. The layers of lies, furthermore, that the abortion facility workers place upon themselves dehumanizes them. And we know about this very well here at Priests for Life because we're involved in the process by which people who are in the abortion industry come out. Again, this was the context in which I first met Abby 10 years ago, and have helped many other people on that journey to come out of the abortion industry. And one of the things that they have to face up to is that in dehumanizing the child in the womb, considering the child just products of conception, considering this, oh, it's not a baby, oh, it's just a mass of tissue, it's like a blood clot, all these different dehumanizing things that they say are done at a cost. There's a big cost, a big price to pay when you dehumanize the child. You know what that price is? You dehumanize yourself. If the baby is less than human, then I, who have just asserted that, have diminished my own humanity. Of course, I haven't lost it, but I've diminished it. I've contradicted it. How can a human being not recognize another human being? You dehumanize yourself when you fail to recognize the other. You dehumanize yourself when you fail to recognize your brother or your sister. Those who run the abortion clinics, those who are leaders in the abortion industry, like this woman Cheryl, this very hard-hearted, callous woman that we see running the corporate levels of Planned Parenthood, as we see in the movie, knows the level of dehumanization that it requires to run one of these facilities. And so you realize at a certain point, she notices and comes to the conclusion that Abby is the one that she wants to succeed her as the director of that particular abortion mill. And she tells her why she thinks she's the right one. What happens in this particular scene is that she invites her to go into the POC room, products of conception, which her colleagues tell her half-jokingly, oh, well, we call that pieces of children. She goes into the room, and Cheryl shows her an aborted baby. Abby looks down at the baby, lifts up its hand and arm, and just looks in wonderment at the child. And Cheryl says, I know that you're the one. You're the one, because you know what everybody else does when they come in here and they see one of these? They cry. But you didn't. That's how I know you're the one. And she had said just before that, you fit in real well here. Yeah, you fit in with a dehumanized industry. You fit in with an industry whose operators and directors can only do what they do if they shut off their conscience, if they simmer down their humanity, if they still the voice of protest that is within them. One of the ex-abortionists who has spoken up over the years is Dr. David Brewer, and he said when he first saw an abortion and when he first did an abortion, it was like a hot poker in his heart, a hot poker. He said, and it really hurt. There is a voice of protest inside of us that rises up when we see harm being done to a child or any kind of violence being done against the innocent. There is a voice of protest, but the abortionist has to learn how to still quiet that voice of protest. And so he said, yes, it hurt. But the next time I did an abortion, it hurt a little bit less. You see, you're at a fork in the road at that point. You see your first abortion, you do your first abortion, you're at a fork in the road. Either I'm going to let that voice of protest stop me from ever doing it again, or I'm going to have to put layer upon layer of lie and rationalization in order for me to continue down the road of doing more and more abortions. And it makes you like a stone. Cheryl in this movie paints a very accurate picture of the mindset of those who run these abortion facilities. I've dealt with many of them face to face. This is exactly how they are. Happy about the fact that someone is not crying over a dead baby. You dehumanize yourself in the process. Now, the opposite of that is seen in the character of Sean Carney. I was with Sean just the other day. By the way, you may have seen the little video clip we put out on these broadcasts. We were chatting in Washington, D.C. He was very happy with the way the movie came out. But there is a scene where he is there with his wife, and his wife says to him, you know, I can't take the daily heartbreak. This has got to stop. It has to. Now, the heartbreak is, again, very symbolic there of what is in the heart and mind of all of us who are pro-life activists. That heartbreak over the deaths of the children we are trying to save, but can't save them all. And so there is a sadness, there is a grief, there is a mourning and a weeping. There has to be. In fact, that's the foundation of pro-life activism, is when your heart is breaking enough over this tragedy of abortion that you are willing to let God's grace come in and enable you to do something about it. So she expresses there at that moment the heartbreak of all of the pro-life community, of all of the people in our country and around our world who are working to end abortion. That is where we come in touch with this issue. It's not just a matter of ideas. It's not just a matter of viewpoints. It's a matter of victims. It's not just a matter of beliefs. It's a matter of bloodshed. It's a matter of the common humanity between us and the babies that we're trying to save. And we make that human connection, and in that human connection, we find the grief that appropriately accompanies this tragedy, and we also find the grace and the strength to do something about it. And so at a certain point, Sean, with his wife next to him and other pro-life activists there on the other side of the fence in front of this abortion mill, see the man who's coming out with the big garbage barrel which has the aborted babies in it. And he asks the man if he can pray over the barrel. The man reluctantly agrees, and he says, but wait a minute, I've got another one coming out. And so now there are these two large garbage barrels filled with the the aborted children. I've seen this in real life, been in front of these abortion facilities when the trucks have pulled up and the men have gotten out of them in the very same way to go in and get the remains of the babies in boxes. But at that moment, there is the prayer that is said over the remains of those babies. And I've been with pro-life activists and have done the same thing. I remember one particular time there was a large truck standing in front of the abortion mill where we were, and the back of the truck was open. The man went inside to get the remains of some of the bodies, and there in the truck we saw boxes stacked upon boxes. So we extended our hands in the same way as you see in the movie and prayed for these babies, commended them to the Lord. What is so important to remember about that scene is that this is what is necessary for people to turn against abortion in our country in a deeper way. We have to connect with the humanity of the babies. First of all, for those who have had abortions, one of the common questions that arises in their mind is, well, what happened to my baby? Once they begin to wrestle with the fact that they have to reconnect with the humanity of their child, one of the ways you reconnect is precisely by asking that question. And the connection for other people as well is in coming into contact with the bodies. Because again, this is not just an abstract issue. This is about bodies. We at Priests for Life, in conjunction with groups like the Pro-Life Action League and the Citizens for a Pro-Life Society, have established some years ago the National Day of Remembrance. We do it in September. And it's a day when we have, simultaneously across the country, prayer services at the grave sites of aborted babies. So powerful. And I've had the privilege of burying many aborted babies around the country through their various funeral services. One of them was held right on the grounds of EWTN. We filled the chapel up there in Hanceville at the shrine Mother Angelica built and buried the babies there. If you go to EWTN, by the way, when you're going up to the shrine in Hanceville, you see this white picket fence on the road going in. Before you go into the main parking area, on the left side of the road, there's a statue of the Pietà, Mary holding Jesus after he's taken down from the cross. Right there by that statue is the grave of some aborted babies that we buried there. Having people at the funerals of these aborted babies is a key moment of awakening their heart and their soul to the humanity of these children. And showing the funeral is so essential. Showing the bodies of these babies is so necessary. One of the biggest factors in this whole movie, one of the biggest reasons for its success, is precisely that you see the bodies of aborted babies. You see that body in the POC room. You see that body on the ultrasound while the child is being killed. You see remains of the baby expelled by the chemical abortion. You see the body. So I have always advocated and always will that when these aborted babies are in fact found, and sometimes they are found by accident, sometimes they are found on purpose, we have to show people these children. They were killed in darkness. They were dehumanized and discarded by the abortion industry. They have to be remembered in the bright light of day. And we honor them with funeral rites, with ceremonies, with wake services, where, like in the case of Emmett Till, in the history of the civil rights struggle, and Alveda King is part of our team here at Priests for Life, we talk about this all the time, when the mother of Emmett Till, the little boy who was violently killed because of the evil of segregation, when she saw his mangled body and arranged for his funeral and his wake service, she said, "There will be an open casket because I want everyone to see what they did to my boy." And so we are saying to America, we want everyone to see what they did to our boys and girls in the womb. We will always, always advocate and insist on that. And we have had marvelous, beautiful, moving, stunning wake services for aborted babies, including there at EWTN, where people would walk by the casket and look at the baby. Brothers and sisters, we have to show people these babies. Finally, I want to bring to your mind another dimension that comes up in a few different scenes of the movie, and that is Sean's wife, Mary Lisa, has a shirt that says hope. And you see that word come clearly onto the screen when Sean is praying over the bodies of the babies. She's standing there next to him, and you see the word hope. And then when Abby pays a visit to the office of the 40 Days for Life and tells them she's coming out of the clinic, as she's sitting there pouring out her heart and saying, "I don't want to ever be involved in this again. I saw the baby, a beautifully, perfectly formed baby." Mary Lisa is listening to her. You see on her shirt the word hope. But I want to point out one little detail about it. There's a period after the word, because it's a sentence. It's not just the word hope, because if it's just the word hope, there's no need for a period. But when you need a period is when it's a sentence, and the way you make it a sentence is that you make it a command. Hope. It's an instruction. It's our marching orders. Hope. Hope for those babies that have been killed, because we're commending them into the hands of the Lord. Hope in the Lord. It's a command. Hope in the Lord. For the babies that are still in danger of being aborted, hope in the Lord that His grace will turn the hearts of those moms and those dads away from the evil of and the false solution of abortion. And hope, period, as a command. Hope that people who are working in the abortion industry will in fact turn away from it, will in fact have that conversion of mind and heart. It's a command that God gives us in His Word. It's a virtue, furthermore. And brothers and sisters, finally, when Abby is leaving the clinic, she's driving out after she submitted her resignation and collected her belongings from her office, and she's leaving those gates for the last time as an employee. Sean is standing there, and she rolls down the window with a big smile, and he says, "How does it feel?" And she says something, again, that is a very accurate portrayal of the mindset and the lives and the hearts of abortionists. She says, "Like I got out of prison." This may sound strange, but the abortion workers resent what they do. Dr. Philip Ney, whom I've mentioned already, Canadian psychiatrist with whom we work, he developed the Centurions. The Society of Centurions goes back to the 1990s, and I connected with Dr. Ney at that time. This is the medical model, the original model, for bringing people out of the abortion industry and healing them. And it's been a worldwide resource ever since the 1990s for people who are in the abortion industry and want to come out. And when they come out, where do they go? What do they do? These were the circumstances under which I first met Abby, too, and I introduced her to the Centurions. The Centurions is this worldwide society of ex-abortionists who have been on the journey of healing. And what they say, and what they make very clear, is that they resent what they do. It's like they feel that, okay, society is scapegoating all its unresolved problems onto the heads of these unborn children and resolving our unresolved problems by killing them. And it's like the biblical account of the scapegoat in Leviticus and the Day of Atonement, and the guilt and the sins of the people are put on the innocent goat, and the innocence of the goat is transferred onto the people, but then somebody's got to take the goat out into the wilderness to take the sins away from the community. And that's a very unpleasant task, and that's the abortionist. The person standing by who is tasked with the dirty work of a society that can't resolve its problems except by killing the innocent. And they resent it. They know that it's wrong. They know that it's tearing them apart. They know that it is dehumanizing them. They know that it is ruining them and ruining the rest of us. And yet they feel trapped. People expect me to do this. And they tell themselves, well, if I don't do it, someone else is going to do it in a worse way, or she'll do it herself. They resent. They're in prison, brothers and sisters. These clinic workers are in prison. They are not our enemy. They are captive to the enemy. And we want to set them free. And that's in large part what this movie is about. We want to set free the abortionists and the clinic workers who have so lied to themselves and dehumanized themselves. We want to set free from guilt and shame those who have had abortions. And we want to set free their families who grieve and who have so much pain over abortion. We want to set free the pro-life advocates from the anguish that they feel over the continued abortions that we all feel. We want to set free our society and its laws and policies permitting this violence. We want our entire world to become a society of centurions. The centurion at the cross of Jesus, and we're coming up close to Good Friday now. It's a week from this Friday. The centurion at the cross of Jesus participated in his death, but then repented and said, surely this was an innocent man, and I am sorry. And in the society of centurions, we have seen for decades, and we will continue to see, men and women, Abby is neither the first nor the last, who are coming out of this industry and saying, surely these were innocent lives, and we are sorry. And they are met by the God of infinite mercy. How can God forgive me for having been involved in so many abortions? Abby says in the scene in this movie as she's weeping together with her husband, and he answers, he can do it because he's God. And that same God is with all of us and available and ready, more eager to forgive us than we want to be forgiven. So let's all take hold of his hand, receive mercy for our own sins, but then receive his grace to bring that mercy to everyone else, starting with the saving of the lives and then bringing mercy to those who have taken those lives. Well, thanks for joining me, brothers and sisters, for this special presentation, especially for those who have seen the movie. There's always more of it to delve into, and we'll be putting more reflections on these various things up on our on our website. Stay always tuned to our website, endabortion.us, and we'll put these and other things on it. Let's take a look once again at the trailer to the movie as we conclude these special reflections, and then I'll come back and give you a blessing.
Here.
Our first order of business is to present Planned Parenthood's Employee of the Year Award, Abby Johnson.
This is Abby. She's our newest volunteer escort. Abby, this is Cheryl's Alessandro.
I'd be the youngest director in Planned Parenthood history.
You'll actually be in charge of the abortions at your clinic.
I have a chance to make a real difference.
No matter what you do for the rest of your life, you're still gonna be a baby killer.
The only thing that's changed is you, Abby. Can you even hear yourself talk right now about these procedures? These are little babies.
I'm not going to apologize for doing a job that helps women in crisis.
There's still a part of me that isn't sure.
I know. But the one thing that all experts agree on is that at this stage, the fetus can't feel anything.
Sorry to bother you, but they need an extra person in the back room. Are you free?
I saw it. It was like it was twisting and fighting for its life.
We commend the souls of these hundreds of children. And Lord, we pray to end abortion.
I really appreciate what you've done for us. I'll not forget it.
22,000 abortions. How do I even comprehend that?
Rough day at the office?
You can say that.
You're making a mess.
It's your dad and me. You are our baby from the moment of conception.
We are paying you to be a perfect instrument of corporate policy. We are an abortion provider.
I can't be a part of this anymore. Everything that they told us is a lie.
Don't underestimate the repercussions of this. You gotta be careful.
Rhonda, please don't do this! Rhonda!
Let me tell you what's gonna happen if you walk through that door.
Congratulations. You've made an enemy of one of the most powerful organizations on the planet.
You know, in a worldly sense, Planned Parenthood is one of the most powerful organizations on the planet, but in reality, it's the weakest. It's the most hollow. It's the most shallow. It is in a state of collapse. It is in a state of decay. And this is why the abortion movement is so nervous, so frantic, becoming more and more extreme, because they see their whole philosophy and their whole business in a state of collapse. You see a picture there of me with Abby in one of our encounters, and she asked me to be the godfather, actually, to her second child, Alex, and we've enjoyed a good relationship over these many years. And now, of course, and have helped together many other people that have come out of the abortion industry. And now, of course, there'll be even more people finding their way out of the lies and the deceptions of that industry. So let's pray that all of us will be instruments of these changes, these conversions, these healings. So may the Lord bless you and help you to be an instrument in saving lives. May He strengthen your own witness to the unborn, and may He grant all your prayers and give you and your loved ones His protection and grace. And may Almighty God bless you, the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Father Frank Pavone here, National Director of Priests for Life. God bless you, friends. We'll talk to you soon.
But you know what? When you and I take up this call and we talk about abortion, if we speak about it in church, we're told we're too political. If we speak about it in the political arena, we're told we're too religious. If we speak about it in the world of the media, it's too disturbing. In the world of business, it's too distracting. In the world of education, it's too controversial. In the streets, it's too disruptive. So abortion, if abortion is wrong, where do we go to say so? We go into the churches, we go into politics, into the media, into business, into education, and into the streets. Some churches haven't wanted to get involved in political hassles with the government, so they've been silent on abortion. They didn't want to get involved in hassles from the government. They didn't want to take the fight to the government. So now with the HHS mandate, the government took the fight to them. And when it comes to that mandate, we've got a simple message. We will obey God rather than men. As Alveda can tell us, her uncle said one day to the civil rights movement, we've got a lot of obstacles in our way, but we're not going to let anything turn us around. We're not going to let no